Welcome back. In the last class, we talked about remedial measures for excess demand, and in this, we're going to talk about deficient demand. How to increase demand. That means at full employment equilibrium, there is less demand as compared to this supply, aggregate supply. Aggregate demand is less than aggregate supply, and how it's important to bring it up. So I'll just give you this. See, we made this diagram in which you see that the full employment equilibrium, at the full employment equilibrium, aggregate demand is much less. So we have to make sure that it is pushed up. So from, say, this is the current one, this has to be brought up here. We have to push it up because it's, so under this gap is known as, what is known as a deficient demand. So the aggregate demand right now is less at full employment equilibrium. That has to be brought up to full employment equilibrium. And how do we do it? So how do we do it? Again, government has two important tools, as same as if you just have gone through the excess demand, it's exactly like that. So which are the two important tools? Yes, one is the fiscal policy and the other is the monetary policy. So that's exactly, we'll do that. And if you've understood that, then it'll be easier. So let's just take this. Look at this, right? So these are the two fundamental policies through which the government can intervene in the functioning of an economy. That is fiscal policy. These are fiscal policy and monetary policy. So what are these fiscal policies? What are these fiscal measures? It is the budgetary policy of the government, that is the revenue and the expenditure policy of the government to control the supply of money. Okay, so that's what it is. So aggregate demand has to be increased by an amount equal to the deflationary gap. So these are the following measures which can be taken. Number one, increase of government expenditure. So more government expenditure through deficit financing may help in closing the deflationary gap. When government expenditure increases, the aggregate demand in the economy increases by the same amount. Since government expenditure is autonomous, that is independent of income, this would shift the aggregate demand curve upwards in parallel. So in the figure, when government increases its expenditure, then what happens? The aggregate demand curve will shift upwards. So if the government expenditure is increased to the extent of the deflationary gap, so it will bring the economy to full employment equilibrium. So sometimes in some of the diagrams you will also get a C plus I plus G, just to make sure that only when you introduce G will it go up. So next is reduction in taxes. So what happens here? The other instrument of fiscal policy that will increase aggregate demand is the reduction in the level of taxes. So this will increase the disposable income by the amount of the reduction in taxes. That means we'll have more to spend. So if consumers etc. have more to spend, what happens? The consumption demand will increase. So demand will increase. So this increase in consumption demand will increase the aggregate demand. And then for monetary measures, you see I've written quantitative measures and qualitative measures. So there are also monetary measures with which we can correct the deficient demand. So what we did in excess demand, if we just go absolutely diametrically the opposite, that's how we'll be able to control or bring about rather the deficient demand up to the full employment equilibrium. So this is for you to see. So these are the monetary measures to remedy the deficient demand. So these are the monetary measures. So what are the monetary measures? So it is basically the policy of the central bank of a country which controls credit or the money supply in the economy. So these are the measures which are really undertaken by the central bank, and they are classified into two groups, as I've shown there. Quantitative methods, which means it's there for one and all. It is not, it is one for everyone across the board. So in this again, they're talking about bank rate. Start with the bank rate. So bank rate, what will now tell me that it was increased in excess demand? So what do we do here? Of course, we reduce it. So bank rate as well as repo rate both will be reduced as the central bank. Let me just tell you what is bank rate long term. That's long term rate of interest, and repo rate is a short term. So as the central bank lowers the bank rate, the cost of borrowing for banks also reduces. This leads to reduction in lending rates by the bank, that is the rate of interest. Cheaper credit increases the money supply and motivates the firms to borrow more for investment. So increase in investment demand will bring about an increase in aggregate demand. And talking about reverse repo rate, what is that? The central bank will also reduce the reverse repo rate in such times. So this will discourage the commercial banks to park their surplus funds with the central bank. So they're not going to keep their surplus funds with the central bank. So more funds will now be available for credit. More credit by banks will increase the money supply in the economy, leading to a rise in aggregate demand. So then we talk about again LRR, legal reserve ratio. Now what of that? So reduction in the legal reserve ratio, because we know that we discussed that earlier, that commercial banks they have to maintain legal reserves in cash. So there are two components of legal reserve, that is cash reserve ratio. It is a minimum percentage of the net demand and time deposits to be kept by commercial banks with the central bank. That is cash reserve ratio. And SLR is, it refers to the minimum percentage of net demand and time deposits which the commercial banks are required to maintain with themselves. So what happens during deficient demand? The central bank lowers the legal reserve ratio, which enables the commercial banks to create more credit. A reduction in the legal reserve ratio releases money that was earlier required to be kept as reserve, either with the central bank or with the banks, or with themselves as commercial banks. So now this gives more money in the hands of commercial banks to lend to the firms. As a result, investment expenditure and hence aggregate demand increases. And now we have what is known as open market operations. So what of that? Now, we know again, open market operations refer to the sale and purchase of government securities by the central bank to the public, including banks. So the central bank can correct the situation of deficient demand by purchasing government securities from the market. When the central bank purchases securities from the market, it makes payment to their sellers through checks. The sellers of these securities deposit these checks in banks. Thus, money flows from the central bank to the commercial banks. So the deposits with the commercial banks encourage lending, which raises the level of aggregate demand. So we are having done these quantitative methods. So qualitative methods, let's just take margin requirements. So what ought to be done in the margin requirement? So margin requirement refers to the difference between the value of security and the amount of loan. So in times of deficient demand, central bank reduces the margin. Commercial banks now are able to give more amount of loan than before against the same security. So it thus raises borrowing, which means it raises the level of aggregate demand. Is that clear? So I'm talking about moral suasion. During deficient demand, central bank requests or advises the commercial banks to encourage credit, that they should create credit, give credit, creation of money and all of that. And sometimes these qualitative methods also known as selective methods of credit control too. So under this, as we know, the central bank send directives to banks to give credit for certain purposes to particular sectors, and during deficient demand, credit for speculation, especially speculation purposes, is withdrawn, and only credit is given for productive purposes. That's what is encouraged. So, with that, we finish off the Keynesian theory of income determination, and tomorrow, in the next class, we are going to do what is known as government budget, a very important component of macroeconomics.